Hey everybody, it's Brooke with The Buttered Home and welcome to my messy kitchen. Today we have a Southern classic casserole for you. This month we're featuring breakfast and, well, probably for the most part casseroles too. So one of the best things that you'll find all across the southeastern United States is several different versions of a hash brown casserole. There is none so beloved than that, including myself, than you can get at Cracker Barrel. So we tried real hard to recreate what Cracker Barrel had done, but we do things just a little bit different. But I'm going to tell you about what the secret ingredient is that typically I don't know for a fact, but I think that they put in it. So this one is pretty darn close, and in true Buttered Home fashion, we make it more than just a side dish. We're going to make it a whole meal by the addition of some cooked breakfast sausage, which really takes something very good and makes it even better. So we start out with 1 bag of frozen shredded hash brown potatoes, and that's about 26 ounces. And you can let it thaw. You don't have to. It can be sort of thaw. Either way is just fine. But if you do thaw it completely, just be sure to do so in a colander in the sink so that all that water as it thaws can drain off. Then we have 1 pound of cooked, crumbled breakfast sausage. That can be pork, that can be turkey, whatever you like. Now, this is not a diet recipe, and I do have some suggestions for some substitutions, but it really is one of those things that you want to splurge on. I mean, it really is, as is. So find some room in a healthy diet to have just a little bit of things you love and don't deprive yourself. So then we have about 1 small, and I'm using a yellow onion here that I've just diced real fine. That comes out to anywhere between 1/2 cup and 2/3 cup of chopped onion if you can't find, a relatively small one. Then we add in a 1/2 stick of butter. There is no substitute for this. This is why I say this needs to be one of those things that you just do in moderation. So a 1/2 cup or a whole stick of melted butter, and we've let that come to room temperature as well. Then we have a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and then we have 1 can of cream of chicken soup. I think between this and the butter that these are the secret ingredient that make this casserole so addictive. Now, one of the things that we did is that we chose their 98% fat-free cream of chicken soup, also in the lower sodium version. I like to have control over how much salt goes in my recipes, so the lower sodium options and the lower fat options, not the fat-free, but the lower fat options on things like condensed soups that you use in a lot of Southern casseroles are a smart substitution, and you don't lose any of what that casserole provides. And then we have 8 ounces of sour cream. Sour cream along with that soup really give the kind of creaminess, texture that you want in this hash brown casserole. Sour cream on its own in a lower fat version is not bad. It's actually considered a healthy fat, so no need to substitute. But if you were wanting to kind of cut some of the sugars out, then I would urge you not to go fat-free or to use lower fat, unsweetened Greek yogurt. That's a good option. And then we have 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese, and we like cheddar jack. You can stay true to form and use regular cheddar, but the cheddar jack just adds a little snap to it. So we like to use that. And we're gonna divide this. So 1/2 of it is gonna go in the casserole and the other 1/2 is gonna go on top. So now we're gonna show you how to put all this together. So we start with normally a 9 by 13 pan. I'm gonna use a throwaway pan, which is probably closer to about 8 by 10, but it's deep. It's like a 2-inch deep. Whatever you use, just make sure you spray it really well with some good nonstick spray. And then we are going to take our hash brown potatoes and we're going to add about a teaspoon of salt. And if you're watching your salt, you can leave that out or you can use a little less. And then we're going to use about a half a teaspoon of pepper. And this is another good casserole that's really good peppery, because potatoes on their own don't have a lot of flavor, so pepper really does a lot for the potatoes. So we're gonna add that in, and then we're gonna add in our melted stick of butter. And I always flub the dub on the butter. I wanna say half a stick when it's half a cup, and well, you know the drill. Y'all can speak fluent Brooke by this point, let's hope anyway. And if you're just finding us, it won't take you long. I tend to try to correct myself as I go. All right, so now that I've got those kind of mixed in, then we are going to take our soup and our sour cream. And we're just gonna lightly mix those together. Just until they're good and uniform and you can't see the difference between the two. All right, and then we're just gonna set that to the side. So at this point, we're gonna add in our onion to our potatoes after I throw them all over the counter. Trying to be so swift with my knife here and pick them up, which is probably not a great idea, but I'm careful. And you should be too. And we're gonna mix that up and just kind of get those onions just folded in. And then we're gonna fold in our sausage. And now to do all this, you would need a really big bowl. So you'll notice that I just do a little bit of this in a bowl because this is really kind of the biggest bowl that I have. And while it may not look mixed very well, I'm just kind of getting it started here and getting that folded in. And if you're like me and this is the biggest mixing bowl you have, this is a good option for you. Not everything has to be mixed in a mixing bowl. You can totally use your well-greased pan and then go ahead at this point and pour everything in there. And it's really a lot less cleanup too. And then I like to going so far as to mixing it the rest of the way in the pan so that I can make sure that the sausage is easily distributed throughout. Now I know this looks like a lot, and it is, but these potatoes are gonna cook way down and they're gonna make this flat, good but fluffy surface here, and then it turns into just a beautiful firm casserole. So we're gonna add in about half of that cheese. And my hands are clean. So at this point, I'm just gonna use a cook's best tools, which is clean hands, and just get that cheese distributed throughout. I have more control with my hands to get that cheese good and mixed in there. So that's what we're gonna do with that. Then we're gonna take our soup and our sour cream mixture, and we're gonna put that right on top. Now, one of the easiest ways to do this is just to take the back of your spoon and just spread it out, just like this. And that way, if you don't have a big pan or you don't have a big mixing bowl, you've already kind of got your cream base kind of allotted out. Now, you could do one of two things at this point. You could simply top the rest with cheese and let that soup and sour cream cook down, or you could gently just fold it in. And I like to do that in quarters of the pan. Because we spread it out and evenly distribute it over the top, you're not gonna be left with like huge amounts in dollops. So if you have a small kitchen, or if you have small utensils or small mixing bowls, I like to just show options like these because a lot of people think that you always have to mix everything in a mixing bowl, and you don't. Truth be known, like I know whenever Tanner just moved out, you know, she didn't have access to have the space to keep a lot of mixing bowls and things like that. So we have to remember that for people who are learning to cook, that we need to show them simple and, I guess, economical ways of doing things, because we don't want them to be intimidated by being in the kitchen. You want being in the kitchen to be an enjoyable thing. So while I might always mix everything in a big enough mixing bowl, I try to think that I'm helping those people who've never cooked before learn how to do something with the tools and the space that they have. And I think that is something that it would be nice for us all to do as we pass on that legacy of learning how to cook. So now we're going to take the rest of that beautiful cheese and we're just going to spread it out over the top. And get it good and covered, because we want a good little cheese roof over here to protect those hash browns and all that good stuff we got going on in there. Now this will go into a preheated 375 degree oven for anywhere from about 30 to 45 minutes. Because everybody's ovens are different, I try to give just a reasonable amount of time on things like casseroles and where they can be cooked. Because a lot of, like my mom's oven, it runs a lot hotter than my oven. So it might take this casserole 30 minutes to cook in her oven, whereas mine it might take 40 or 45. So my advice is to start on the lower end, set your timer for 30 minutes and check it, and when it's bubbly and brown and you can stick a knife in it in the middle and it comes out fairly clean, then you're done. If it's not, then just check it every 5 minutes or so, and usually it's done anywhere from that 30 to 45 minute mark. So we're going to put this in the oven and then we're going to come back and show you the finished product. We'll be right back. Okay everybody, we're back. The hash brown casserole took about 40 minutes to cook in my oven, and it is nice and golden brown on the top, and that cheese is good and melty. And before we cut it, we're gonna just show you how pretty it is real quick. I mean, it's gorgeous. You have just a little bit of browning around the edges and your cheese is all uniform and melted. It's had a long enough cook time at that 375 degrees that the potatoes that are thinly shredded are cooked all the way through, and that sausage was already cooked and there's no eggs in it, so it's absolutely perfect. So now we're gonna cut a piece and we're gonna show you just how glorious it is. And I say a piece, but it's more like just a chunk of it. You can try your best to cut a big piece of it if you want to, but a lot of times it's just gonna kind of fall apart when you take it out. But that cheese is just fantastic, and it just slides right off, and you have all that beautiful texture of the potatoes, and they're cooked really well, and that sausage is already done because you cooked it ahead of time. This is a great casserole to give to someone in need. I mean, it's fantastic. You can put it all together, wrap it tightly, and have it for the freezer, or it's a great make-ahead meal for you to have later in the week for your family. But everything in it is just perfect and glorious, and you've got all that cheese on there too, and it really is a good treat. And it's a great meal not only for breakfast. You can have this any time of the day and be completely satisfied. So this is our version of sausage and hash brown casserole. And if you want to just make it hash brown, you can. You can, like a lot of our other recipes, you can omit or add to, but we like to give you just a good basic recipe so that you can take something like this and have a whole meal off of it. I know 2 grown kids who are going to be very happy this afternoon. They knew I was making this today and they're making plans to come and eat it. Not to see me, but to come and eat it. As usual, if you're not already, be sure that you have subscribed to our YouTube channel and make sure that you hit the bell to be notified whenever we post videos like this one. Also, if you're not already, be sure that you're following us over at Facebook and Instagram. We cook live there pretty often on Monday nights, and we would love to have you join in on the fun there. All of our videos, just like this one, can be seen there as well. We like to show up on several different platforms. We're all over the place, and I'm not stretching it. Some days I'm real all over the place. So for more great recipes like this one, be sure to head over to thebutteredhome.com where you can find Southern basics, all that you need to know, and make sure that you're back here next week with us so that you can see what else good breakfast we're going to be cooking up for you. From the buttered home to your home, we love y'all. Bye.